Hey, what's up, everybody? It's JayViper here, and we're going to be going over Legendary Drop's video where he actually had a few devs reach out to him from Ubisoft. I talked about this a little bit in my last video from the article at That Park Place, but this video, he actually goes over everything, and we are going to look at it now because there is so much great information in here, and I want to check it out.
JayViper is awesome. He's so good looking. He's got the crowd in awe.
Things at Ubisoft are far worse than I ever could have imagined.
Oh, I think they're
After my
bad.
last video chronicling the rise and
Has to be
fall of
bad.
Ubisoft, I had both current and former Ubisoft developers reach out for comment. Today, what we're going to be doing...
Okay, so that's a big thing. I didn't realize they reached out to him. I thought he went and found them. No, they reached out to him, which means they saw that video and they said, hey, man, we want to talk to you. That says a lot.
is we're going to be talking about the issues that the studios face today from the perspective of their own employees. Everything from Me Too movement allegations to agenda-driven content. I want to contrast the comments made in these interviews with what we've seen from Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. This company has a deep-rooted leadership issue, going as far to think that the vast majority of online criticism is just a toxic minority of gamers.
Of course they do, right? Of course they do. Even though you see so many people, like, look at any post from Ubisoft right now and look at the comments. They're full of people like, your game sucks, there's a problem, this is bad, that's bad. There's no toxic minority. It is a huge majority of people saying, fix your game if you want me to buy it. And that's why it's so important to listen.
This company and its leadership think that they are on the righteous path.
Yes.
Little do they know, it's a dead end. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been steeped in controversy and criticism since its initial reveal. Online discourse surrounding the game has been almost entirely negative, with long-term fans of the franchise, general audience, and Japanese audiences up in arms over the creative liberties that Ubisoft has taken with the depiction of Yasuke, the fabled Black Samurai, and feudal Japan. Japanese creators, as well as just random bystanders, have taken to Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube and Reddit, voicing their concerns offended by the game's representation of their history and culture.
And it's not the right people, like, to piss off, because they are very knowledgeable of their history, right? Very knowledgeable. So when you do this, and you go into someone's history like this, and they're very knowledgeable and proud, you really better do it right if you're saying you're making such an important history piece, which is exactly what Ubisoft said.
Inaccuracies like using Chinese architecture instead of Japanese, the legitimacy and relevance of the game's protagonist, Yasuke, and even going as far as stealing a flag and imagery from the Sekihara Teppo Tai, a historical reenactment group where the company had to formally apologize for not asking for permission to use their materials.
And I think you can honestly get away with doing this if you're just making a game and you're trying to make it like a Japanese style game, and you're not trying to say we're going back in your history and bringing this amazing character from your history that isn't, and at top of that be like, we're making a period piece and all this, this is so great and what we're doing is amazing, and all of it's just wrong, right? I think you could take Japanese art and style and put it into a game and just be honest with the way you present it to people and be like, yeah, we just tried to make a cool game with like Japanese architecture, etc. I think you can do this.
Ubisoft's adventure into Japanese history has been a complete disaster,
but
and it's
not what they did.
Going to get worse. On September 11th of 2024, an article was penned by the New York Times titled "The Fight Over a Black Samurai in Assassin's Creed."
Of course,
the writer Zachary Small.
Of course, that's the headline.
The controversy and player concerns as merely those of a toxic minority of angry Western gamers, and the entire time he fixates on the race of Yasuke and not the broader implications at play in Ubisoft's mishandling and the frank disrespect for Japanese culture and history.
Of course he did. Of course. I mean, because just bigots. End of story.
This article was a collaboration between Ubisoft and the New York Times in an attempt to redirect the discussions surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows and minimize
if
the
Ubisoft
feedback.
was involved in that, 100%
Hashimoto, a consultant and translator for the games industry, later to be found out to be an employee of Sweet Baby Incorporated that did consultant work for Ubisoft.
Wild!
Hashimoto claimed that it was people in the West who were upset with seeing Yasuke as a samurai, and that many of the online negative comments were written in Japanese, appeared to be roughly translated from English.
So basically, what this person that worked with Sweet Baby Inc. that is now working with Ubisoft, okay, what they're trying to say is that these comments that were left in Japanese were really just basically translated from English on like Google Translate. Meanwhile, these accounts are Japanese accounts full of Japanese language. It's just nonsense. But again, these are the excuses they make for themselves to gaslight people and try to anyone who's like not intelligent enough or not caught up on the situation reads this and they go, oh, people are just, racist and they're making fake accounts, which is all just nonsense.
Effectively hand-waving the increasingly loud and valid concerns of the Japanese, asserting that it's all made-up outrage. Nothing
It's
more
not
than
real.
the gamers' war.
Yeah, it's not real. Meanwhile, their diplomats are actually trying to write bills and go after Ubisoft over what they've done. But that's not real either, right? I guess that's not
against
real.
DEI or inclusivity in video games. I find it all too poetic and predictable for a AAA publisher to brush off player concerns and use their connections in the media to try to steer public discourse and sentiment into a favorable direction. All of these claims made by the New York Times as well as other writers are patently false. You can see the criticisms of Ubisoft's recent releases and the future release in Assassin's Creed Shadows everywhere. It's impossible to ignore.
Yep.
Videos and
It's
promotional
everywhere.
material.
Look, so again, it's why it's so hard to ignore? Because so many people feel this way. So like even in places where algorithms exist like YouTube, the videos that are critical of these types of things like Outlaws, those videos were everywhere. Assassin's Creed Shadows, we see them everywhere. They have tons of views. Do you know why? Because people are seeing this, they agree, they interact, and they take off in the algorithm. So if someone's like, oh, this game's actually great, you're all crazy, it gets no views. Do you know why? Because no one actually feels that way.
Ratioed by dislikes and comments in mass numbers. Videos like mine and many others reaching widespread appeal because we have that many people that agree or share similar opinions.
Exactly.
With that said, I couldn't imagine that it was possible for anyone to ignore this level of feedback, and Ubisoft has to be seeing it. So I spoke with a few developers from Ubisoft to shed some light on
But
these
they're
issues.
ignoring it.
I started off by asking how Ubisoft internalizes and discusses general criticism from players and the rest of the industry, whether that's its repetitive design, agenda-driven content, or predictable games. They responded saying, at a high level, they rarely talk about it. At a project level, they brush it off as toxic gamer talk. As Asmongold correctly pointed out in a video of his, Ubisoft is filled with toxic positivity that prevents any growth.
Look at this. So they don't even talk about the problems, and they brush off anything they hear as toxic gamer talk. How stupid. Like, so when your games are suffering, and they are, then it's not just toxic gamer talk. It's people telling you what they want to buy, and then you don't give it to them. So what do they not do? They do not buy it. Okay? It's so stupid to tell your customers they're wrong, especially when it's a massive amount. It's not like there's a couple people that are just really mad. It's a lot of people like, this doesn't look good.
I then asked, what about the Japanese community's backlash over Assassin's Creed Shadows? It's obvious that they haven't done their research, and even the smallest details are going to be noticed by a culture that's as proud as the Japanese.
Exactly.
They responded by saying that the criticisms haven't been talked about, and they've only issued demands that we mustn't engage with discussion on that topic publicly.
That is so insane. Like, so they are ignoring it internally, but only to a level of discussion. They have said that this exists, but because it exists, you can't talk about it publicly. So they are just sweeping it under the rug, but also holding thumbs on everyone else who works there and telling them also don't talk about this publicly. This place sounds horrible place to work right now. Horrible.
Meaning everything that we've set up into this point, all the criticism that we've had over the years for Ubisoft games, even that of the industry itself, has fallen on deaf ears. I don't know if it's sad or if it's somewhat, it's somewhat cathartic to have that validated.
Exactly.
I mean, it's the main complaint that the vast majority of gamers have had over the years, which is that these companies aren't listening to us. And in this case, I have developers that are telling me, yeah, they're not listening to you.
So it's a thing, right? They put themselves up here. They're on this pedestal. And we are down here on our little, we're down here and we're just feeding them. But that's all our job is. We can't give them information. We have to just give them money. All right. And if we have any issues down here and we have feedback, they look down on us and be like, you're our subjects. And you will think the way we think, and we're not going to listen to anything. We're just the sheep. They're the lion. That's how they view themselves. Meanwhile, they're starving now. The lions are getting hungry. We'll see if they'll come down to our level.
Because they don't want to take criticism, and two, because they don't know how to differentiate bad from good criticism. I think this is my patented...
I don't think that's even... I don't agree with that. I don't think they can't differentiate good from bad criticism. I think they view all criticism as bad. Because, again, this is what toxic positivity creates, where criticism can't exist. Because if you criticize anything, then you are the enemy and you're going against everyone or anyone that you're giving the criticism to.
Catchphrase by now, but when you have this much negative discourse surrounding your games, you need to be listening, regardless of whether or not it's good or bad feedback in your eyes, regardless if you align with these people's political beliefs or social political beliefs or whatever it might be.
And the thing is, right, is they'll have people who are like, shut up, that are fans. They're like, shut up, it's Assassin's Creed, it's Ubisoft, it's going to be great, this is amazing, who cares, right? These are stans. These are just people who will, buy an Xbox because they love Xbox or Microsoft, or someone who goes and buys an iPhone every time, right? They're just, they're brand loyal, right? So brand loyal people are also toxic because they will just like anything you shove in their face and they'll buy it. So you have the brand loyal people. It's the rest you need to get to buy your product. And those are the people that are not buying the product.
None of that matters. When you have your games on fire as much as Ubisoft games have been lately, you need to put those fires out somehow.
The Halo
way that
system.
You can do that is by listening to them and implementing whatever feedback you possibly can into your games to make them better.
Especially like when you listen to the feedback that's being given and it's all valid. It's valid, okay?
Regardless, the other thing is, I'm sorry. I am disgusted by the blatant, feigned virtue over how much they care about Japanese culture and history. I'm sorry. You are bastardizing Japanese culture and history for profit. That's what you're trying to do here. You're not trying to make a history piece. We know that.
No, and they said they are. That's the thing, right? And that's what's causing this problem. It's that they said they are. And that they said they're going back and they're getting this super important person from their history. And then they're making they've made all these, what did they do? They hired the guy who's like an expert on Japanese freaking culture, but that guy, meanwhile, is writing Wikipedia pages and citing himself. Okay, so they got the wrong person there for that, and they are really missing big time with this.
It's very loosely based on Japanese culture and history. Look at you guys. You put out a Torii Gate figurine, a half Torii Gate figurine with your characters on it without knowing the cultural relevance of the half Torii Gate after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Do you have any idea what that means to these people?
And it's just like, okay, so that is that is so I don't even know how to say it. It's just, that is so culture blind, right? You just took this thing, threw it in there, and didn't realize that it is from freaking getting bombed. And then you went and put your samurai on it. This thing wasn't even there back then. But they took a symbol from Japan that's from a horrible time in their culture, and you put it in a statue for a video game.
What's wrong with you? At the end of the day, it all comes down to leadership. When you look at Ubisoft's messaging, the lackluster delivery of titles like X-Defiant and Star Wars Outlaws, the inaccuracies and screw-ups with Assassin's Creed Shadows,
Outlaws was so
you see
bad.
a developer that has no clear plan.
The one thing I will say is, as far as this game looks, it looks so much better
or what players
than Outlaws.
What good
game
games
looks
look
pretty
like,
nice.
or how to even do their job.
Until you see it in action.
I took the time to talk to the Ubisoft developers about workplace culture, about the initiative that they've taken for diversity.
But this would be fine, right? But then I guess, the blooming isn't happening in season, the rice patty are in the wrong place. It's just like they take these pieces and they stick them in and they're wrong. Meanwhile, they said they're making a period piece. And when you say that and you can't deliver it and it's all just nonsense, Then you fail and people start picking you
diversity
apart.
hiring and what happens behind the scenes at Ubisoft. And it's wild to see how accurate some of the assumptions that have been made by myself and others.
Okay.
Now, continuing my conversation with one of the developers, I wanted to find more about the workplace structure and management. And seeing as though the company has had initiatives that have been put in place to make the workplace a little bit more diverse, I asked what benefits...
Has anyone seen a photo of the Ubisoft developers? It's all white. It was less white like 3 or 4 years ago. It's more white now. It's crazy.
Is there more diversity in thought, or is it creating a more one-sided environment? They said that so far the initiative hasn't had any impact on the team that I'm a part of. However, it's clear that some topics are taboo. What happened is now that people end up in a meeting with HR for trivial stuff, not adding smiley faces to a message or adding an exclamation point at the end of a message because some people are reporting it for harassment.
I want to know what kind of person, like, if someone sends you a message and they don't put a smiley face and your response to this is to go to HR. Hey, can you do this for me? No smiley face? What the fuck? What? You put an exclamation point on thank you? That must just be rude. Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine, like, oh wow, this is a toxic work environment. Again, pendulum swung the other way. It's
one of
toxic
the things
for
that
another
wasn't
reason.
in your video is that Ubisoft had some controversy during the Me Too period, letting go of a manager in high positions, and some left on their own because they knew they'd be discovered.
We talked about this in the last
asked,
video.
what was the impact of this in the workplace? They responded by saying the editorial direction and overall mindset shifted from the boys club to safe content. Reaching for plain characters like Kay and Star Wars is a perfect example of this. The idea to have beautiful characters such as Baldur's Gate or Uncharted is met with distrust.
So this is the pendulum right here, where you have boys club over here, and it has swung all the way to anti-male club. So when you're making a video game, and there's a lot of men that are going to buy your video game, even though the work environment is toxic in the boys club, you're going to sell the video games. But when you swing over here all the way, and it's an anti-male club, you're doing a lot of disservice to your video game. So you're not just fixing the work environment, you're destroying it in another way. And at the same time, you're making a product you can't sell like you used to. And again, this also lends credence here. The plain character, oh, and they spelled plain. Wrong. The plain character of Kay Vess, this is exactly what we said they did. Okay, and this is validation that they absolutely made her look this way on purpose. They had a beautiful voice actor, and they said, nah. And this is a company who even captures the face when they do the recording. So they absolutely
The developer shared sentiment saying that safe content also leads to limited opportunities on the gameplay side. Even for Star Wars, we had to work with Disney, which would have shut down most attempts at depicting a true criminal underworld with cruelty and drama.
Yeah, okay. So with that too, I've seen this brought up where like how Thanos is that type of character and he's owned by Disney, but I do understand this in a way where you are not controlling Thanos in a video game and doing these horrible things. And it's also Star Wars, right? So you are not attached to the character Thanos. So being attached to Kay Vess, I kind of see where this is coming from and how this can happen with Disney for sure. But it's not a family-friendly game either. So working with Disney is a pain in the neck. And I totally see that being a valid thing that they had to work around. It's disappointing from a gameplay perspective, however, but I do see that as a real valid thing that came.
When you put this developer's perspective in line with the recent failures and controversies at Ubisoft or any AAA developer at this point, it all makes sense. An overcorrection in sensitivity brought on by the boys club days that many studios experienced during their early years. As such, many games today lack the teeth and grit that players crave because those things are seen as problematic or unsafe to make in the workplace.
Yeah.
Don't use emojis or exclamation points.
That's crazy.
You could offend someone.
Wow.
Holy shit. How soft have we gotten?
That's not even soft.
That's
where
the
something else.
Community manager went on a ban spree on their Discord because players were using a throw-up emoji on furry art that was posted in their Discord.
Whoa, what? I didn't hear that. They were banning people who didn't like the furries. I just want to be very honest with everyone who's watching right now. Furry stuff, anything, is disgusting. And there's no place for it in the world. And if you're into it, please don't come by here anymore. It's just, there's something wrong with you. Go to a psychiatrist right now and fix yourself. Right now. You're a person, and there's no reason to look at animals in any way other than, this is a cute dog, I want to pet it.
Sometimes people need to be offended.
I want to be clear.
I'm going to try to resist the pull yourself up by your bootstraps tirade. Friction on some levels is necessary in life. Now, that doesn't mean that people should be allowed to openly harass others, but there are major issues that arise when you have emojis that can get you fired.
Wow.
This overreaction and
or not using the
overcorrection
emojis
leads to a workplace that is actively hostile towards freedom of thought, expression, and criticism.
And growth. You absolutely need a freedom of expression. Now, you can't, now, if you're being horribly mean to someone or, so I understand that. But if you're like, this is the issue with your design, this we can fix, blah, blah, blah. If you can't do that, it's over.
As one of the interviewees mentioned earlier, they noticed a culture of toxic positivity. From my perspective, toxic positivity is fake people saying fake things, and in the case of Ubisoft, making fake products. Nobody wants to live their entire life being terrified that someone is going to misunderstand them. And when you're at a studio like Ubisoft and you're not even allowed to...
Oh, I can't believe I did Outlaws beginning to end. Oh my god, I did. I had to do it. I thought the end would be good. It was...
Make characters
or at least
attractive,
be something.
Otherwise it might upset
awful.
People at the studio. You have a problem. This culture of fear and forced uniformity stifles creativity and innovation. It's no wonder that Ubisoft is struggling to produce anything of real substance when their own developers are walking on eggshells, more worried about HR complaints than creating groundbreaking games. How can you make bold, impactful content when every idea is scrutinized for being too risky, too offensive, or too unsafe?
Yeah.
It's a workplace where mediocrity is rewarded and we're pushing boundaries, the very things that games are supposed to do.
It isn't that mediocrity is rewarded so much as mediocrity is the only way to function in this type of environment. And so what comes of it? When you can only function at a mediocrity level or mediocre level, you're going to get mediocrity or less.
Is seen as a liability. This workplace culture, this overreaction and overcorrection has infected just about every single industry that's out there. I worked in construction for 7 years up until last December, and the company that I worked for was more afraid of HR issues than they were of injuries. We worked with hydrogen sulfide and hydrogen cyanide, gases that, if released, could kill half of a city. We've discussed modern audiences, the mythical magic.
He must live in California or something like that. Where the hell was that?
Magical modern audiences and soft modern games. We found the audience. It's the people that are running these companies nowadays. You have folks that are walking around on eggshells, afraid to say anything. Anecdotal, but just like a few weeks ago or a month ago or so, I remember I was live streaming, and instinctively I said something was retarded.
Oh my gosh, no. Something. You didn't direct it directly at a person and call them actually retarded, but you just said something was. What happened?
I'm a millennial. We all grew up saying it. It's a product of my upbringing. Say what you will.
Who cares?
I didn't say it consciously. It just came out. And one of my chatters pops up and says, "How often do you say that word?" I banned the fuck out of them. Get the fuck out of here with that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, get out of here.
People that are out there that are waiting, prepared to be offended.
Yep. And that's toxic positivity at its finest. Say something, and someone's going to be there to hold you accountable because we have to be better. Shut up. It's words.
I'm sick
Losers.
of it. You cannot have workplaces that are out there where every single thing that you say, you have to watch every word that comes out of your mouth. Otherwise, it could be your livelihood. And I'm not saying that you can walk around saying anything. That's not what this is.
Right.
Everybody knows. I think that's the most frustrating part when you have these kind of conversations.
Is they know what you mean.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You know what I mean, but you're twisting it because you can.
You know exactly.
You know why? Because they're always trying to position themselves on the moral high ground to put you down here so they can, We've seen it forever.
What I'm talking about. But the intellectual dishonesty around this kind of thing is just, it's fucking mind-boggling.
It's dishonesty so they can get the moral high ground. That's what the constant battle is.
Workplace environments that actively work against any type of creative or constructive criticism. That's how you get games like this. This is how games and products are being ruined over time, is because nobody's allowed to criticize things properly. You have places.
And you have companies that function this way. And you see that company doing it, and they're releasing the garbage again and again. Look at Ubisoft, okay? It's just happening. It's gotten worse, and all their games are going the same direction. Whereas you have a place like Space Marine 2, right? They have a very opposite mindset. And look what they made. A very fun game that people want to play. Same thing with Wukong. They don't think this way. Look what they made.
You have people in the workplace that are like, I don't think that these
Stellar
characters are
Blade?
going to be received well by the fans,
Yeah.
but they're not
Can't
allowed
say
to
it.
say anything about it. They
How dare
can't
you.
say it's not hot enough. It's not masculine enough. They can't
Maybe, or maybe we shouldn't put the person in the wheelchair inside of Rainbow Six Siege. Ubisoft.
say that because it's problematic to say so.
Uh-huh. Maybe this
Tame
is bad.
and safe
What? You're
are the
fired.
antonyms
You're the bad
of
guy.
exciting and daring.
And smart, by the way. Being safe in everything you do is not smart, especially when you're making gaming products, because
Baldur's Gate
sorry about
3
that pause.
was exciting and daring. Star Wars Outlaws,
Oh yeah.
tame and safe.
It wasn't even
Whether it's
safe.
their poor job at
It
representing
was
Japan or the
awful.
trailers of Assassin's Creed, there
There's
are
nothing safe
clearly
in this
levels
game.
of incompetency at work.
It was the opposite of safe. It was so safe that it was unsafely safe. You know what I mean? Like they went so like this is exciting and crazy. This is super safe, and they just kept on going.
Many players
until
have pointed out in the
boring.
game trailers, the promotional materials that are meant to sell the game, you can see frame rate issues, texture issues, poor
Yeah.
collision detection, weapons clipping through characters, and more.
Them dropping
Controversies
weapons when
aside,
they're touched.
This game doesn't look like it's ready for launch, and in fact, its developer just recently came out and canceled their appearance at Tokyo Game Show and announced
Yeah.
the game would be delayed until February. Along with the delay,
February 14th, happy Valentine's Day.
Ubisoft CEO recently issued a memo to their employees that ended up getting leaked publicly, and it showcases just how out of touch this company is with their players. Rather than acknowledging their real missteps, they're clinging to critic scores, pointing out Star Wars Outlaws had a solid 76 on Metacritic.
So stupid. So again, so they're using. So this just proves that they use the journalists to try to trick people, right? So they pay journalists with access, and the journalists in turn give them decent but not terrible scores. This is the IGN 7 that we talk about, right? Which keeps them right there in kind of the safe, it's kind of okay area when it should be lower. And of course, are they talking about the people giving them scores? No, they're talking about epic scores and garbage like that instead.
Oh, I didn't know that you were
course.
trying to sell the game to game reviewers. That makes a lot of sense, seeing as though that you're
Yep.
completely ignoring player feedback that clearly shows that your game is hovering in mediocrity.
It's like a
Even
5.2
worse, they
on
believe that
Metacritic.
Black Friday sales are somehow going to magically turn things around, not realizing that no amount of discounting will make up for a product that fundamentally misses the mark and nobody's interested in.
Yeah, no, you can discount it and people might buy it for a discount, but they're not going to love it. They're not going to make it, oh, yes, please make another one. The game isn't good.
The memo reads more like a corporate spin than a genuine reflection of failure.
They'll
No
buy
mention
it. They'll buy it cheap, and they'll be like, "Wow, I'm glad I didn't pay full price for this." And that'll
of
be
the
it.
controversies or deeper issues that are plaguing the company. They talk about how all players want are highly polished games on launch day, when the truth is players are craving meaningful, risk-taking, authentic content.
Fun.
Things that Ubisoft hasn't seen in decades.
Fun.
Even in their own memo to their own employees, they can't speak frankly about their mistakes.
You see this also? Look, see all these little yellow freaking things? Those will just be on for the rest of the mission, by the way. All those AI are glitched.
This sanitized messaging shows just how deeply disconnected the company is from the people that it should be listening to.
See, they're
players.
just on.
Interested in the perspective of the employees who received this memo, I had a few questions on their thoughts of the messaging and the leadership of the company.
Those
I asked,
AI are just
what has
standing
been the
somewhere.
message from management to the staff about Ubisoft's declining sales? What do they believe is the reason behind it? They responded, the fun fact is they don't talk much about it. They
Course
mainly focus
not.
on the fact that they reached their financial objectives, which are mainly achieved through casual player sales, not the vocal gamer minority that are sick of what you described in your video.
But so, I don't think it's a vocal gamer Minority? Oh, community. He said minority. Am I wrong? Oh, maybe I heard that wrong. But yeah, no, it's not just a vocal community. It's a very, very large part of the community, as we can see by the numbers.
Also,
It's very
something to
large.
know is that through the years, the number of management floors has increased to ridiculous amounts. So communication is often blurry unless they come directly from HQ, and even then, it's almost entirely corpo bullshit that isn't useful in the end.
They have a lot of management now, even more management. Yeah, that does cause a lot of problems because no one talks to each other. I deal with this crap too, where it's like there's so many managers sometimes that are dealing with you that you don't even know what to do anymore.
I asked another employee to verify the increase in management at the company, fearing that this is likely one of the biggest issues that's facing the company, seeing that lack of clear and creative vision. They painted a picture of a company that's not only overrun with management, but
Yeah, and the thing with management is the way they get bonuses and advancement is by things being successful on like in their review, and it might have nothing to do with sales. It's hitting these bullet points that they've made for themselves. So as long as they're hitting those, they're doing a great job. It doesn't even matter if the games suffer. They only care about themselves. And if there's so many managers that are all doing this and battling each other, basically, oh my gosh, this place sounds
aggressive
horrible.
about removing higher paid and talented employees while slotting in underskilled and unexperienced management at a cheaper rate. They claim that Ubisoft as an employer shows little regard for their developers. What happens in practice is that they essentially push out senior engineers, promoting junior engineers to senior roles after just a few years of experience, oftentimes with experience in just one engine.
Oh, that's not
Meanwhile, experienced developers with far broader skill sets are being overlooked. This constant cycle of turnover with inexperienced leaders leads to noticeable drops in quality, with bugs appearing in their games.
And you know what this will do is it'll make it so the managers that were lower end don't even know how to fix it and might not even notice it.
The passionate, dedicated developers leave, while those who are just going through the motions stay behind.
Ugh.
This doesn't
And boy, did these two games reek of people just going through the motions to get a game out.
just affect the technical quality of their games, but also impacts the design and creativity.
Of course.
For instance, you'll find designers working on FPS mechanics who have never played an FPS game.
How is that possible? Never even played, let alone designed? Wow. That's shocking.
Before, or engineers who don't understand how the mechanics they're building are supposed to feel. There's a lack of passion and skill across the board, and the results are obvious.
You know what this reeks of? Are people who went to college and just think that people owe them everything, right? I'm owed a job. I went to college, so I must have a job. And now I'm at this job, I must get paid. It's just like, it's this way of thinking that a lot of people don't really feel
That
from back
line
in the
about
day.
designers working on
everything's
FPS
owed
games
to them.
and leading FPS projects struck a chord with me. Not long ago, Ubisoft released X-Defiant, a military shooter that was meant to compete with the likes of Call of Duty. However, since the game's
Look
release,
at
they've
it.
lost the vast majority of their player base, with Ubisoft claiming that the game isn't dying, despite it reportedly losing 94% of its players on Xbox.
It's not dying, just almost everyone's gone.
Why is X-Defiant ran into so many issues? Netcode, hit registration, and general shooter gameplay issues.
It doesn't
Common
look so
problems
bad.
that are normally ironed out well before a game ever hits the market, especially a shooter. It's core to the gameplay. If you're playing a live service shooter, all you do is shoot. That's the gameplay. But when the shooting doesn't work, you don't have a game.
No.
Ubisoft's leadership
Hi, Concord. Talking to you too, by the way.
is completely disconnected from the reality of game development and player expectations. The problems stem from a bloated management structure that's prioritizing reaching financial targets through casual player sales.
Wow. So again, like this does reek like just an echo of Concord 2, right? Where everyone there, it's toxic positivity, making a bad game, no one can critique anything. Same thing Ubisoft, it's just you create bland games, bad games, right? So if it's bland, it becomes bad, especially when like you have people making FPS who ain't even played FPS. That's insane.
Rather than listening to the core gaming community that's sick of their tired formulas. Even their own developers are frustrated. As
Even
they
the
watch
designs
as
look
talented
bad.
senior engineers are pushed out of the studios and inexperienced juniors are promoted far too quickly, leading to a noticeable drop in quality. It's no wonder their games are riddled with bugs and lack any real innovation. This company is more focused on appearances rather than creating meaningful, engaging content.
Which is crazy. Ubisoft used to be so ahead of the times. They would create things and people would try to emulate this. And they are nothing like they used to be. I mean, they used to publish incredible games. Devil May Cry, Morrowind, obviously Assassin's Creed. I mean, holy crap. They were great at like recognizing a great idea.
The quality of their games doesn't matter
Not
as long
anymore.
as they aren't offending anyone. When you see the issues that plague Assassin's Creed Shadows, the pandering, the generic virtue, the lies, the cover-ups, and the lack of understanding of what they're apparently inspired by,
pathetic.
when you see how safe and tame, how boring, buggy, and soulless Star Wars Outlaws is, when you see how their most anticipated shooter in X-Defiant is riddled with the most common issues, bugs, all kinds of different things that...
This is a stealth game. Again, this is a stealth game. Outlaws is a stealth game. Even though it wasn't marketed as such, it is. Big time. They make stealth games and they couldn't even do it. It was bad.
Normal shooters would never have on day one, that's made by developers and led by developers that haven't even played an FPS game.
I remember
you
this
see a
mission.
studio
I
and
was
a
like,
publisher
what
that
is
lacks
this?
integrity and a spine. Cowards in leadership roles, afraid to loosen their grip on the wheel. Developers
Wow, this
afraid
is
to
fun,
speak
huh?
out and unable to express any of their creativity. Franchises destined for obscurity. Ubisoft isn't just losing its way, it's already lost. And the only thing left is to watch it burn.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy to speculate
Worrisome.
about these kind
True.
of things, but it's an entirely different beast to find out what you've been believing this entire time is absolutely true. And I want to take the time to thank the developers that reached out to me. It was daring for them to do something like that. Obviously, their identities are being kept secret.
And shout out to Legendary Drops. I will link this below, by the way. But this is great. This is great that they reached out to him and he made this video and had good questions for them.
Secret for very obvious reasons. Most of these folks could lose their job over having these kind of discussions.
It's okay. They'll lose it anyway by not putting a smiley face in a message. So,
But
it's just
keep in mind,
clock's
what's really
already
sad
ticking
about
on
this
them.
is that there are developers that are working at these studios that want to see things change, that want to fix things, that see these obvious issues, but they're not allowed to do anything about it.
So, and this is, again, my last video when I was talking about like the internal investigation that Ubisoft says they're doing. They can fix this. However, it's not going to be quick if they even catch it, right? If they go into this and they're not honest with themselves and don't take gamer feedback or developer feedback, right? Because they're going to talk to these people. If they don't actually take a moment to be honest with themselves and have that come to Jesus moment, it won't matter. And they're going to continue down the toilet until they're gone. And that's actually upsetting because this used to be a great company. But those people who were great are obviously leaving. So does it even matter if something happens to them? I don't know. Maybe not.
That sucks. That's something that all of us can empathize with. I'm pretty sure that anybody that's watching this video right now has likely worked with some level of management that took them in the wrong direction, and led them down the wrong path.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the biggest issue for Ubisoft is that the damage is already done. Their brand is already torched. Their name and their reputation is in shambles by
They need a U-turn. Can they do it? That's the thing.
now.
They don't, then
And
forget it.
looking and seeing that they have pushed back Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's for obvious reasons. While they're going to say that it's for fixing issues in the game, there's issues that we saw in the trailers, so
For sure.
it's totally believable.
It
The
looked
game
bad.
likely does need more, more
The
time
gameplay
in
was
the
a
oven
mess.
more than anything else. But outside of that,
They're not going to fix the flag thing. They're not going to fix the statue. The statue's out. I mean, they're not going to fix the problems. It's Yasuke's still going to be there.
I really think it's just them trying to distance it from all of the bad press.
It doesn't
Because
matter.
there's a lot of people that
We, as YouTubers, will ensure that they stay in the news cycle. If they release this thing when they were going to, that's the quickest way to get out of the news cycle. This just gives more and more content. We have more content until February 14th when it releases, and then we'll have some more when we see how bad it is.
that have been talking about Ubisoft.
Could have been over
There's a
by
lot of people
Christmas.
that have been talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it doesn't look good. And pushing it all the way to February, I don't think any of that's going to change anything.
Nope.
If anything, seeing
It's not
how
far
often
enough
they
that
like
you need
to
to
put
fix
their
it.
own foot in their mouth when it comes to Assassin's Creed Shadows, you're just giving me and a bunch of other content creators more time to farm you than anything else.
That's
I was talking to one of the
exactly right.
developers about the delay, And they're like, one of the things that really confused the whole group of developers is that they're like, well, we need more time to fix bugs and issues, but we're also going to add more quests and side content.
Why?
Like, those two things don't have anything to do with one another, and one creates more issues.
No, in fact, like, yeah, you're fixing the bugs. All right, the quest designers, don't make more quests. Go back through your quests and make them better. That's all you need to do. Don't add more. It's not quantity, it's quality. But you know what? You say that in a meeting, you're fucking fired.
This doesn't make any sense.
Oh, wow.
And also, you push it to February, the month that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds release.
And Valentine's Day.
You're cooked.
Yeah, they're
What are you
cooked.
doing?
It's going to get delayed again.
What are you doing?
It should. They
I
really
don't
want
know,
to fix
man.
it.
I want to thank everybody. Thank you guys for watching the last video as well. It was my first 1 million view video. That's
Ooh,
just a wild
congrats.
achievement, one that I wasn't really sure that I'd ever be able to achieve.
Oh, that's killer. I haven't had 1 million yet. I had 800,000.
And you guys made that possible, so thank you guys for that.
That's awesome.
Again,
No,
if it
congrats.
wasn't for your guys' support, stories like these wouldn't be able to come out. I hope I get to do more stuff like this in the future because I had a great time making this video. This is probably
Yeah, it's really great they reached out. Again, a huge shout out to those devs.
favorite. This is my most favorite video that I've ever made. But yeah, outside of that, thank you guys.
You're
If
welcome.
you guys have enjoyed the content,
thank
make
you.
sure that you're sharing these videos. Make sure you like the video. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. What are you doing? Come on, man. Just hop on board.
He's talking
You guys
about
wanna
my
catch me
channel too,
live,
by the
you can
way.
follow me on Twitch. I'm live 2 days a week. I'm working on videos 4 days a week. I'm sleeping 1 day a week.
Same.
But outside of that, my friends, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys next time.
All right, so that was a really, really great video, and I super appreciate him for making that. Again, like, it just all comes down to they can fix this. Ubisoft can fix it. I really believe. Maybe not Shadows. It might be too late for them, but they can fix their workplace. But it's all going to come down to, are they honest with themselves? Do they realize that they are the problem or not? And I just don't foresee that happening. The way they talk to the public and the way they basically try to tell us that we're the problem, I don't foresee it happening. And I think they're really done over there, man. I don't know what it's going to take to like shake some sense into them when they're so adverse to criticism, and that is the culture they've created. So I hope for the best because it's been a great, experience coming from Ubisoft over the decades, but they have lost their way. And they have bad leadership. They have bad management. And but huge shout out to Legendary Drops for this. It's so great the devs reached out to him and made this possible. So thank you. Definitely click on his video below. Give him a subscribe and a follow, obviously, as well. And while you're here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so I can see you on the next one. Love you into peace. Bye, everybody.